initial reaction by Coach Jeff Saturday was to say, I have no regrets. Then came the day after, and to his credit, willing to be transparent, willing to acknowledge he has applied further thought to the situation, and he has decided that maybe he could have done a better job. Here he is from yesterday.
Looking back, obviously there's always things everybody wants to do, plays they want back. I wish I had that third down back. In all honesty, wish I'd have used a timeout. Just looking at it on film, looked at it last night again, looked at it this morning again, and from a time perspective, I felt good, but you could tell we were in disarray. I just didn't have a great feel, and Parks made a great call. I still liked the call right away. I told him to have one ready, and as soon as he went down, he had the call in place. So his was on, but then we had the formation and personnel. We got guys running across, and again, I just looking back, it's a learning experience. I didn't meet my expectations. Again, I hold the guys accountable. I'm accountable for that. Just wish I would have. That one's the one that's going to stick with me. So use it as a learning experience, hopefully get better at it, but frustrated with myself on that. All my coaches, whether it be Tony, whether it's Jim Caldwell, those guys were always very transparent with the team. And I felt like they were very honest with everybody, whether it was public or not. And I believe in that. I mean, everybody's going to have opinion one way or the other, either way. And I'm not concerned with what goes on outside, but inside, I want to make sure everybody feels, that you own whatever your portion is, and everybody has a role. And at that moment, in that role, I just feel like I should have done something different.
Myles, the key word there, and he used it twice, experience. Now, he preceded experience with learning experience, but when you have experience, that's the value of experience. You've been there. You've done that. You've been there. You've done that. You've learned. Sometimes you learn as a member of a coaching staff while the head coach goes through it, and you go, I'm glad I learned the lesson now, because that'll make me better prepared for the day when I'm the one that has to make those decisions in the moment, in real time. One thing to watch it on film the next day or watch it on TV live. When you are in the middle of it, it's a different feeling altogether. It's so much easier to be the one at home saying, like Peyton Manning week 1 with the Broncos, timeout, 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 right? When you're the one on the sideline, you don't know what to do. You feel paralyzed by it. So you have to do it. You have to get the experience. The learning experience comes from experience. And this was the whole beef that so many had with it. You're plucking a guy that's got no experience and you're putting him in charge of one of 32 NFL franchises. That's why people were upset about it. So I think it's Jeff Saturday. It's a frustration with the fact that we're expecting a guy with no experience to act like a guy who has experience. He just doesn't, and Monday night was a great example of it.
Well, the thing that I just kept thinking about, even as that was going on Monday night, was Jim Irsay at the introductory press conference for Coach Saturday, talking about, I'm glad he doesn't have experience because he doesn't have the fear that coaches have of analytics and whatever other weird things that Jim Irsay was talking about at that point. But this is, like you were just saying, what happens when you don't have experience. This is where you don't have the wherewithal to say, okay, I've been in a situation like this before as another member of the coaching staff, right? I've been in this situation as somebody who has looked at the decision-making process and then will do something else. I mean, the whole thing of that sequence was just weird because you have 3 timeouts. So he's talking about the third down, but I'm thinking also about second down because Matt Ryan got sacked, right? He took a sack fumble on first down. So it ends up being 2nd and 17. And while that worked out okay, I mean, you can see it right there that he goes and he makes it 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, whatever it was, because he was able to run. But here you can see they are in disarray. They don't necessarily know what they're doing. They're trying to get to the line. They're trying to get the right play call. You should call timeout, in my opinion, after first down because he got sacked. So get your play right. You know, I mean, when Matt Ryan is running for that many yards, your play is not right in the first place, because that's not something that should be happening. You don't plan on Matt Ryan scrambling, right? So especially then, if you're not going to call timeout there, fine. But if you're going to call timeout, if you're not going to call timeout before third down, it's like, well, what are you doing? You need to be able to have everything right, you know? And credit to Jeff Saturday, who said, I told Parks Frazier to have a play ready and all of that. And that's fine, even though Frazier is in, you know, one of his first few weeks as a play caller. It's just give yourself the time to do everything. That's what the timeouts are for. And I think in those situations, you want to make sure that you have the right play. And I don't know that the Colts gave themselves enough time to actually have the right play on.
The word that Saturday used was disarray. Folks who were watching the show yesterday or who have listened to the podcast in the interim will remember possibly that the word Chris used was disheveled. Another D word, but the same idea. There was a look, there was a vibe, there was something going on. And because the initial defense by Saturday included saying there was no reason to take a timeout, and I'm paraphrasing here, because I already had my play call for third down and I wasn't changing it. Okay, fine. But the problem is when you rush to the line and everybody is kind of like looking around like Russell Wilson in that moment week 1 against the Seahawks when, you know, everyone's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Oh, yeah, we're going to kick a 68-yard field goal or whatever it was. The reality is Alex Highsmith of the Steelers diagnosed what was coming, and you saw him make the play. He explained after the game the formation, where the tight end was, the way the tight end was standing, film study. I knew this was going to be a run. And you see him go right through. It's not even hot knife through butter. It's hot knife through air. He goes right through and makes the tackle. That's what happens when you allow yourself to be disheveled and or in disarray and or any other potential synonym starting with D. So, yeah, that's the problem. And now Jeff Saturday has experience. And the next time around, he'll have fear, Myles. He'll have some of that fear that Jim Irsay was talking about, because he'll be fearful that us in the media may criticize him, except the folks at ESPN, but us at all the other outlets may criticize him if he screws up. What? They bent themselves in knots to not criticize him. They were dumping on Matt Ryan for not calling the timeouts. They went right to it, and they didn't have to. The better argument, as Chris Sims made yesterday, was you don't know that not calling the timeout screwed things up. They didn't run out of time. They ran out of downs. That was the issue. They ran out of downs. And the bigger issue with that third down wasn't that they didn't take the timeout. It's that they pissed away a play. They wasted that snap and put themselves in 4th and 3. Call the timeout, and then you have 2 plays, 3rd down and 4th down. Here's what we're doing. And we're going straight to the line on 4th down. We're not giving them time to think about anything. We know exactly what we're doing on 4th down. We got it planned out. We got 2 timeouts left, too, so we got the whole field to work with on 4th down or 3rd down. We don't have to worry about getting out of bounds. We got time because we have timeouts. So they ran out of downs. But one of the reasons they ran out of downs is they didn't use a timeout when they should have to just take a step back and get their act together.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all in that process where you're saying, okay, how do I manage this game? And that's part of why it's good that Jeff Saturday is not the offensive play caller, right? Because he's supposed to be in it, you know, zeroing in on these game management situations. But that was a test, and that one he failed, and he admitted he failed it. You know, I mean, you said it to his credit. That's something that he has admitted now publicly, and he didn't double down on what was obviously flawed reasoning, right? So, okay, that's great. But this is one of the things where you see on the job training, and it's like, you know, why exactly is this happening? And it's the lack of experience. Well, okay, now he has experience. So does that really make him better? Or is he going to be paralyzed by the fear the next time, just like he was paralyzed by the inexperience this time? And I don't know if it's just a criticism of it. And that comes from the outside. It's also in some ways, in the back of his mind, he's got to be thinking, man, I have 2 former head coaches on my defensive staff, and they have the experience and the wherewithal of being in these situations and probably knowing exactly what they should do. Right? I'm talking about John Fox and Gus Bradley. So it's an odd situation in the first place, but then when you see something like this where the game management gets messed up, I think that just adds another layer of complication to the whole thing.
And, the reality is when you're going to do something unconventional like this and hire a guy to be the interim head coach who has twice before not accepted an offer to become the offensive line coach and be part of the staff, and who hasn't been coaching other than at the high school level at any point during the decade since his playing career ended, you set yourself up for this type of criticism. And you accept that the bar is going to be higher for you. Sure, plenty of other coaches mismanage the clock. But when you take a guy who has no experience and you put him in that spotlight, it's more significant and conspicuous when he does. But the bottom line is, the next time they find themselves in this situation, they will approach it differently. The reality is they lost the game, and they're now 4-7-1, and it's going to be harder for them to get to the postseason. And, a couple of weeks ago, they were looking like they were in pretty good shape. They had the Eagles on the ropes. It just shows you how close these games are, no matter who the head coach is. The talent level is close enough that everyone has a chance, and that's why it's critical to make good decisions. That's why it's important to not shoot yourself in the foot. That's why you have to make the advantage. And also, now, what do we hear the cliche? It's more about not losing the game. It's not about winning the game. Tom Brady was talking about that not long ago. It's you protect against losing. You try not to do something that loses the game, and that in and of itself helps you win the game. So that's what we saw on Monday night, and we'll see if the Colts can get a better outcome. Primetime Sunday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. That game was not flexed out, even though some thought it would be. I don't know why. They're not. It could be the Cowboys against Northwestern. Is that a bad college program right now? I don't know.
Yes,
West Virginia University. Okay. So, okay. But pick a bad to average college football team and put them against the Dallas Cowboys in primetime, and it ain't getting flexed out because it's the Cowboys. It's America's team.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.